It's important that you understand that a very common practice of redlining existed where red lines would be drawn to show which neighborhoods would be denied or have limited financial services granted to them. Today, redlining is illegal. The way that the discriminatory practices of low-income neighborhoods were reduced was by the integration of the Community Reinforcement Act, whose purpose was to meet the credit needs of the communities that the lenders were in. Ecoa also states that a loan officer, lender, or agent must not direct buyers to buy in certain neighborhoods or encourage them to avoid certain areas based on their ethnicity or race. This is a prohibited practice known as steering. So, for example, just because someone is a Samoan doesn't mean that you should encourage them to live in a Samoan neighborhood. If the borrower, however, states that they only want to live in a Samoan neighborhood and only wants to see properties in a Samoan neighborhood, then that would be completely acceptable because the agent isn't the person encouraging it. It was on the borrower's own accord, and that's the area that they wanted to purchase in. In the same way that steering is now a prohibited practice by real estate agents, blockbusting, also known as panic selling, used to also be a very common practice among real estate agents, lenders, loan officers as well. Blockbusting is a scare tactic which involved real estate agents spreading a rumor that a specific ethnic group is going to be moving into the neighborhood, and the real estate agents encouraged the existing residents to move before property values dropped. So since both steering and blockbusting are now prohibited practices, the Fair Housing Act requires that the term equal housing lender be a slogan that is published and appear on all advertising. The Fair Credit Reporting Act, otherwise known as FACRA or Regulation V, is enforced by the Federal Trade Commission. FACRA is an act whose primary purpose is to protect consumers from the willful, negligent, or inaccurate information on their credit reports. It's important that you remember that FACRA has to primarily deal with the accuracy on a credit report, whereas Ecoa has to do with prohibiting discrimination on credit applications. It's very important you do not confuse these two laws. Now, a traditional credit report includes credit and public record information where the consumer has resided in the last 2 years at the time of the application. Under FACRA, credit reporting agencies known as CRAs, compile the information into databases that they receive from creditors. The 3 national credit agencies you need to know for the exam are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Now, this is really important that you understand this because FACRA states that a customer has the right to request their credit score, although the score is not free. Remember, the range of possible FICO scores is in between 300 and 850. Now, under FACRA, a consumer has access to the same information that lenders access when making a credit decision. Not only do consumers have access to the same information that lenders have access to when making a credit decision, but also, under FACRA, consumers have a right to a free credit report if a consumer is a victim of identity fraud, received a notice of adverse action, there's inaccurate information as a result of fraud, or if they are on public assistance or receiving unemployment benefits. Now, if a consumer is denied an application for credit, a consumer not only is entitled to a free copy of their credit report under FACRA, but also the entity that used the credit report for the denial must provide the consumer with the name, address, and phone number of the agency that provided the information. Under FACRA, a consumer has the right to dispute misinformation on their credit report and limit pre-screened offers of credit. It's also very important that you understand that if a consumer has a question about their credit application, the consumer should reach out to the lender. However, if a consumer has a question about their credit score, they need to reach out to the credit reporting agency. Now, it's also very important that you memorize how long certain items stay on a consumer's credit report. So, if a consumer has a judgment, it will remain on the consumer's credit report for 7 years. If a consumer has a paid tax lien, it will be kept on the consumer's credit report for 7 years from the date it was paid. If a consumer has a bankruptcy, it will remain on the consumer's credit report for 10 years. Now, unpaid tax liens stay on a consumer's credit report indefinitely, and criminal convictions do not expire once they are entered onto a consumer's credit report. The Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act was an extension of FACRA that became law in 2003. It's important that you know that the FACT Act primarily deals with identity theft. It's under the FACT Act that the red flags rule of Section 114 was established. The red flags rule states that financial institutions are required to create and enforce written identity theft prevention programs. These programs are meant to identify and detect the warning signs, or rather the red flags, that contribute to identity theft, while also enforcing appropriate responses to address identity theft when it is identified, with relevant and necessary updates as needed. The Red Flags program must be managed by the board of directors or senior employees of the financial institutions, and they must provide specific and appropriate staff training to implement the protocols to prevent identity theft. So, let's do a quick practice question of what you may see on the exam. Who is responsible for creating and implementing staff training to prevent identity theft? A, the owner of the company. B, the CEO of the company. C, the board of directors. Or D, the HR department. Now, based off what we've just learned, we know that the answer would be C. The board of directors is responsible for creating and implementing staff training to prevent identity theft. It's because of the red flag rule of the FACT Act that credit card issuers must verify with a client of any change of address received before they send out a new credit card or statements to the new address. Also, the red flags rule of the FACT Act states that no more than 5 digits of a credit card may be printed on a receipt. So the next time you roll through the drive-through line at Starbucks, take a look at your receipt. And if you paid with a credit card, it won't show more than 5 digits because of the red flags rule of the FACT Act. Now, one word you may see on this test referring to this shortening of the digits shown on the card on the receipt is known as truncating. So you might see that. Just be aware of that. Now, because identity theft is such a lucrative crime, the FACT Act allows a consumer to place a fraud alert or freeze to their credit report. Now, according to the FACT Act, businesses must burn or shred papers that contain consumer report information when it's no longer needed. They must destroy or erase electronic files in such a way to ensure that the information cannot be recovered. In the same way, loan originators must also secure sensitive documents at the end of each workday by locking them up securely. It's because of the FACT Act that any consumer may receive a free copy of his or her credit report once per year through annualcreditreport.com. Now, don't confuse this. FACRA states that a consumer is entitled to a free credit report only if a consumer is a victim of identity fraud, received a notice of adverse action, or there was inaccurate information as a result of fraud, or if they're on public assistance or receiving unemployment benefits. However, the FACT Act and the Fair Trade Commission states that any consumer may receive a free copy of their credit report once per year through annualcreditreport.com. Be sure you understand and know the difference because the test will try to trick you on those things.